2025 has seen a dramatic increase in violence against law enforcement across the country. Lawmakers examine that role of how the anti-law enforcement rhetoric plays on the increase in violence. Our Washington correspondent Luis Eduardo Martinez has more on this story.
Today's hearing is not about silencing dissent or restricting free speech. It is about responsibility and recognizing that rhetoric has consequences and ensuring that officers can perform their duties without fear.
In 2024, the FBI reported more than 85,000 assaults on law enforcement officers, the highest number in over a decade. And in 2025 alone, Immigration and Customs Enforcement registered an increase of 1,100% of assaults against its officers.
Federal officers remain unwavering in their oath to the Constitution and their duty to enforce the laws Congress enacts, regardless of the political environment. What has changed is the environment in which they serve. It has grown increasingly hostile with rising violence, threats, and online harassment directed at officers.
Experts in today's hearing singled out polarizing rhetoric against the duties of law enforcement as the main cause for increase in assaults against law enforcement officers.
The rhetoric coming from the top, calling officers Nazis and Gestapo, it better stop right now. You are inflaming dangerous circumstances. A job that is to enforce the laws of this country, the laws that have been passed by those that have been elected by the people of this country.
According to the FBI, 1/3 of cop killers self-identifies with the narratives that portrays law enforcement as the villain.
That narrative, used for political gain, is amplified across social media platforms and other means, and it all too often goes unchallenged. And it's not harmless rhetoric, it is fuel. We have seen this fuel ignite in cities and towns, large and small, all across America.
Democratic lawmakers did not invite an expert for today's hearing, but a private citizen who launched attacks on the Trump administration.
The fact of the matter is that right now, in the United States of America, there is a semi-secret police force abducting people based on the color of their skin and sending many of them via state-sponsored human trafficking to extraterritorial concentration camps.
Today's hearing comes 1 week after 2 National Guardsmen were shot in Washington, D.C. One of them, Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom, died from her wounds, and the other remains in serious conditions. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Luis Eduardo Martinez, NTD News.
Will Trump savings accounts for children born between 2025 and 2028 fit the theme of Make America Great Again? And can we see effects from the One Big Beautiful Bill Act? Well, joining me now to discuss these developments is Kansas Congressman Ron Estes. Congressman Ron Estes, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Well, thank you. I appreciate being on.
Now, let's start off with what's being called Trump accounts. Children born anytime between 2025 through 2028 can receive $1,000 from the government. Family and employers can add to it, too, and it can be withdrawn when they're 18 and tax-free if it's used for tuition, buying a home, or starting a business. What is this policy hoping to accomplish?
Yeah, it really is one of the important parts that we included in the working families tax cuts. We wanted to make sure that individuals could participate in the growth of the economy and starting at birth so that people can actually generate some wealth and some assets that they can have when they reach adulthood and be able to move forward and whether they continue on with higher education or whether they start their own business or other endeavors, they've got a piece of the American dream already started.
Mm-hmm. And in practice, could early savings accounts lead to higher rates of college attendance or home ownership?
It really is an opportunity to save money. I mean, I saw that when I was state treasurer because I was overseeing the college savings program, the 529 accounts, and parents and grandparents were putting aside money to help their kids attend college or higher education, technical school even. And so the Trump accounts are designed to help make that happen for everybody, whether you're going to college or whether you're going to technical school or whether you want to start your own business or as you said, purchase your own house.
And where's this money coming from to go into these accounts? And do you think that it's the best use?
So $1,000 is coming from the federal government as the way we set up the program to start with, and it's a great way to get a jump start for all of these newborns and young children through that process. Also, parents and or others can add money to the account to help boost that, help make sure that it's better for them. And we just within the last a couple of days, we've had a major announcement that the Dells have agreed to contribute and make a donation to help fund that as well, to help so many more millions of Americans to get this jumpstart on life.
At a Ways and Means Committee, a tax subcommittee that you were at today, you examined U.S. companies being moved overseas due to decades of an uncompetitive tax code. Going with those companies were manufacturing, research, and investment. And over the last few years, Congress has been working to get that back. But first off, how did the tax code contribute to losing domestic manufacturing?
Yeah. Well, before 2017, when we passed the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, prior to that, the United States had the fourth highest tax rate in the world for corporations. It was 35%. And we were the highest amongst all the developed countries. And so what we were seeing in that 9-year period prior to 2017, there were 71 different U.S. companies, major multinational companies, that actually were purchased by other companies, and their headquarters were moved overseas because the tax rate in the United States was so high. And actually, in a lot of cases, they were paying for the purchase by using lower tax rates in the countries that they went to have the headquarters in. And so we wanted to put a stop to that. I mean, Republicans and Democrats, even President Obama, had talked about this process called inversion, where a company's headquarters just moved overseas, but they were the same basic company. And we wanted to make sure that we kept those headquarters here, kept them as U.S.-based businesses so that jobs could be based here, because a lot of that, where your headquarters are located, you're going to make decisions around what kind of research and development investments you make, what kind of manufacturing facilities you put in place. And we wanted to make sure that we continue to support America. And in 2017, we were able to implement this, get this started. Unfortunately, we'd set it up as temporary to see how effective it was. And it worked so very well that we were able to this year with in the big, beautiful bill for the working families tax cuts, we were able to make sure that it's permanent now moving forward, that having lower corporate tax rates, having lower rates for individuals, and also making sure that some of these smart policies like research and development costs being written off the first year, major capital expenditures are also be able to written off the first year, so that companies can continue to make smart investments and keep the jobs here in America.
Are we seeing any measurable impacts on domestic manufacturing after it's passed so far, and what can we expect in the near future?
Yeah, we've already seen start of that. Part of our goal this year was to make sure we passed that early enough in the year that businesses would have the opportunity to plan their budgets starting January 1 of next year. So we're already starting to see companies looking at making new announcements in terms of whether it's starting a research and development facility or a new announcement to start building a new manufacturing facility here in the United States. Obviously, that takes some time to build a new manufacturing plant. So you want to make sure that it's permanent and that you get the advantages into the future. And so we're seeing that jumpstart on some of those decisions already being made. And ultimately, that's going to pan out to a whole lot more jobs in America and help with our workforce to help good income so that people can support themselves and support their families.
And Congressman, what do you say to the argument about against Trump's tariffs? Some they say that they reduce American manufacturers' access to the raw materials.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we have to keep in mind is that for decades, going back to just after World War II, America made a lot of trade agreements to help build other countries up, particularly right after World War II, when the United States was really the only country that hadn't been severely damaged after the war. And so a lot of those trade agreements that were put in place for decades always included some things where the United States gave up something to the other country. And now that there's so much economic growth around the world, we've seen trade be so successful, we need to go back and correct some of those imbalances that were out there. And so Presidents Republican and Democrat have talked about it, whether it was China, whether it was other countries throughout the world. But President Trump's the first one to actually stand up and say, "Okay, we're going to get serious about this. We're going to make this happen." And so he's used the approach of tariffs to say, "All right, let's come to the table. Let's make sure that we negotiate trade agreements that are good reciprocal trade agreements that benefit the United States as well as benefit other countries."
All right, Congressman Ron Estes, thank you so much for your insights here today.
Excellent. Thank you.